Okay, this is the third video of the note-taking series. So we're just going to pick up right where we left off. So I actually copied some notes down that were at the end of that piece. Now, the beginning of my article does not have a subheading, and there's two paragraphs here that I've just taken notes on. So looking at these notes, I can kind of tell that these notes are actually talking about, I would say, the overview of the general problem. They're introducing their problem, they're letting me know what it is, and they're kind of giving me a snapshot of it. So I'm going to title it myself, and I'm going to bold it to make it stand out. So that way my notes are clearly organized, and I know what section of my notes I can get to easily with what information I need. So I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to put a space in between my next section. And the next section of my notes is called the situation. So I'm just going to label it the situation. Now, once again, if you don't have subheadings, you can look those up, maybe skim, try making notes, and figure out a good thing to call it. So I'm going to keep going. The situation. Only oil is used more than coal as a source of energy. If we take coal out of the earth at the same rate as we did in 2012, there's enough to last for about 132 years. China uses the most coal. Okay, so I'm going to come over here and go back to my notes, and I'm going to come and I'm going to start taking notes. So oil is used more than coal. Enough coal in earth to last 132 years. There's another abbreviation. And China uses, whoops, oh man, I'm sorry, I hate when it does that. Okay, China uses most coal, right? So those are the things I learned really quickly, put them into my own words. Now let's go back. The power it generates from coal fuels its growth, although its smoke chokes its cities. China, Japan, and India are the largest importers, while Indonesia, Australia, Russia, and the United States are the biggest exporters. Okay, wow, there's a lot of information here. So I notice right here that I can list, and I have two keywords that I need to look up and figure out. So this importer's word and this exporter's word. So if I go back over to my notes, I'm going to use the listing strategy. Largest importers, and I'm going to come up here. I'm going to hit this little arrow button or the indent button, and it'll go over one. So these bullets will now be underneath that title. So we have China, Japan, and India. Now I'm going to use this little arrow again, and it's going to push it back out. Okay, and then I had the largest exporters. I'm going to come up here, hit the indent button, and those were Indonesia, Australia, Russia, and USA. Now, what the heck are importers and exporters? So I happen to know what those things are, but if you didn't, you can open another tab. You can use dictionary.com and look it up. But they are important words for me to know, so I am going to write them over here. So an importer is a country that brings in goods from, or brings in a good, I should say, a specific good from other countries. So it's kind of like when you buy it from another country. So China, Japan, and India all buy their coal from another country. Now I'm going to bold it to make it stand out again. I'm going to write exporter. Okay, so if an importer is someone who's buying it from another country, that means an exporter is a country that's going to sells it to other countries. So that means that USA, Russia, Australia, Indonesia sell it to India, Japan, China, and other countries. These are just the largest ones. Okay, and I wonder if they're using it on their own, because I'm hearing that coal isn't a good thing, right? And so now I'm wondering how come we're selling it, basically. So I'm actually going to come over here and I'm going to make a question. I have a really good question. I'm reading all these notes and I know that it's cheap up here. It says it's cheap and abundant, mean to use a lot of it. Poor countries like to use it. And I know here again it says that India and China specifically like to use it. And I know they have a lot of poor areas. So my question is, how can we help poorer countries use alternative energies instead of coal? And I'm just going to type it over here. So how can we help poorer countries use alternative energies instead of coal? And remember, this is my topic, so you may not understand every little thing that I'm saying, and that's okay, because you haven't done all the background research on this topic like I have. And some of you may have researched this topic last quarter, and you may know what I'm talking about. So it's okay if you don't quite follow. But what's important to understand is I made this question because I inferred, and I remembered in my text, that poor countries are using coal to make power. We know that coal is not necessarily a good form of energy or a good resource to use to make energy. And now we're going to kind of hear about the United States. So I'm going to skip down a little bit. I'm actually going to skip down a little bit in my notes, and I'm going to model how to do this paragraph for you, just because I think it's important and it's something that you're going to want to be able to read in my notes. Okay, and then you'll kind of understand where my summary is. So it just says burning coal emits twice as much carbon dioxide as natural gas and about 1/4 more pollutant than heating oil. Okay, those are big details. And those I should put in my notes. And if you notice on your printed version or your online version, I do put those notes in here. So if I come over here to my printed version, here's my one I already did. I'm just going to copy those notes just so you have it. So right here, just so we save some time, so you don't have to sit here and listen to me read everything again. But here's an example of Germany. Talks about carbon dioxide emits 2 times more pollution than natural gas, right? And heating oil, that's a really bad thing. Okay. So that's why the United States has forced many of its coal-burning plants to close and undergo expensive upgrades to reduce pollution. Wow, so we're not even using it anymore. But the interesting thing is, in my notes, it says that we are one of the largest exporters. What the heck? So my next question is, why are we selling, if we know that it's bad and we don't use it in our own country, why are we selling it to other countries? So I'm going to come over here and copy and paste just for time's sake, guys. So if we don't use coal, and we know that it's bad, why are we selling it to other countries? So maybe it's not that we're completely innocent in this whole idea, right, of global warming. So I'm going to come back over here, and I'm going to copy the last part of my notes for you so you can kind of see that. And I got these notes right out of the paragraph right here where it's talking about the United States. So that's why the United States has forced many of its coal-burning plants to close or undergo expensive upgrades to reduce pollution. Stricter laws have meant that coal mining companies are not making a profit in many places, right? And it gives me an example and it gives me another fact. So I put all that over here and I put it in my own words. I paraphrased it, and I use dates. This is important. So I use my date strategy, right? Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to get down to this summary. So let's just pretend that I've taken all the notes. I've read this whole article. I've taken all my notes. All my notes are in here. And now I need to write my main points. Okay. Well, I know that it starts out by talking about how coal up here is one of the leading causes of global warming. That's a main point. I know that the United States is trying to limit their use of coal. However, they're still exporting it. That's a problem. And I know that countries are mainly still using it because it's cheap. There's a lot of it. And they can get it pretty easily. And then last but not least, people are also still using it, like we learned up here, because they don't want to rely on oil from Russia or from Europe, not Europe, Russia or Middle East, right? And they want to be separate. They want to be independent. Those are all the main ideas. Notice I didn't include all these little details right here. I didn't include all these little facts that I have, right? I just took the main big idea. So I already have that typed, and for time's sake, I'm just going to copy and paste it into the document for you. So it's right here. So I talk about coal is one of the leading causes of global warming. I say USA is trying to limit its coal, but it's still exporting it. 2 main reasons why countries continue to use coal, even though they know how harmful it is because it's cheap and readily available around the world. And specifically Eastern Europe. They continue to use it because they don't want to rely on Russia or the Middle East. They want to stay independent. So it's more than just a money thing. It's also like a freedom thing, I'm noticing. That's another theme I'm kind of seeing. So at this point, I'm done with all my notes. I'm done with my Cornell notes. Once I get down to the summary and the summary's done, I'm done. So at this point, you would want to move on to your second article, and you would want to open up number 2 Cornell notes in your Google Classroom. But one thing I do want to point out really quickly, I think I already did it in the other one, but let's say I wanted to make a web. I would go into the section and hit enter until I don't have any bullets, and I would hit insert drawing, and this is where I would draw my web. So let's say I just draw one really quickly, and I can change the lines. Say I make it really small, and I want to connect it to another box. Say I put another one over here. Bad. Okay, clearly this is a really bad web, but at least it gives you the idea of what a web should look like. You should have some details in here, not the word bad. I want to hit save and close, and bam, it drops it right into my Cornell notes. So if you wanted to do a web or something like that, you can. Now to edit this, I would have to double click on it and come back over here and edit it and do whatever I needed to do. And then just make sure you hit the save and close button again. It's edited it in your notes. Alright, so this concludes this video. I hope you've learned how you're supposed to take Cornell notes. If you have any questions, by all means, come ask me or ask another student. But please make sure you use your note-taking guide packet as a reference and use these online videos. You can come back to these as much as you want. All right, good luck and happy researching.